One Piece chapter 1000 was momentous. I remember it now, reading this chapter, and I was losing my mind. Luffy up until this point seemed like he stood no chance against Kaido. He had been throughout the course of Wano learning new things and gaining new abilities to contest Kaido, but you still felt like the gap or that chasm was too large. In chapter 1000, Luffy reflecting on all the things that Kaido's put his friends through, Gear 3rd Red Rock. It made Big Mom and Kaido see in silhouette. Luffy had a very conspicuous look, reminded me of a certain red-haired pirate. But Luffy said the words that he was the person who will surpass them to be the king of the pirates. Today we talk about Luffy's scary potential. Where is he now? Where will he be in the future? Will Luffy actually be the strongest character in One Piece ever? Does he even need to be? I don't think Luffy's strength is necessarily in his abilities or even his creativity, and those are amazing. I think what's amazing about Luffy is his adaptability and his endurance. And how I've been enduring you guys watching this video for this damn long and not subscribing to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like, turn on post notifications, and let's get it, because Luffy, he's impressive. This isn't necessarily strength, but this tells you just about how Luffy is as a character, but also as a pirate and as a captain. It was in Drum Island, when he had to climb that mountain to save Nami and Sanji. And whilst climbing the mountain, his fingers were literally bleeding, but still he persevered to get his crewmates up the mountain because they needed to be saved. It's scary, but that's an example of his tenacity. In my last review, I talked about Luffy and how Kaido was in trouble. The reason why I thought he was in trouble, not because his commanders got defeated, not because he has people under him like Fortrix, whom I like by the way, but because he has now stepped into Luffy's arena. I think the worst thing you can do is let Luffy gain some confidence. He's a confident individual regardless, but in the midst of a fight, if you let him gain some confidence, it's like Whitney's rollout. It's a multiplier. It keeps going and going to the point that it snowballs, and now you can't stop it. And now Kaido, you're on a runaway train, buddy. I think the first time I felt true confidence from Luffy was when Luffy went to attack Kaido when he dodged. And he said, wait, Kaido, why are you dodging now? I thought the attacks didn't hurt. I mean, obviously the Red Rock, it woke Kaido up because Kaido then went into somewhat of an internal monologue. And in chapter 1001, he started thinking about Luffy's potential and Luffy's ceiling. What I loved about, again, chapter 1000 animated, I will be reacting to that, so you guys expect me to lose my shit when it happens, is the reactions from the other supernova. Zoro, Kid, Killer, and Law. Kid is the most hilarious because he's like, wait, you can hurt Kaido from physical blows? Kid, I love you, man. In the midst of that, I like how they're asking Luffy, does he understand what it means to be king of the pirates? And now in hindsight, now I can take a step back and evaluate this chapter without being super just fucking emotional. Does Big Mom and Kaido understand what it means to be king of the pirates? Like I've said before, I made a video about it. Nobody actually cares about the Pirate King title. Well, at least not Big Mom and Kaido. That's a means to an end. They don't really care about what it stands for. It's just a way for them to achieve their goals. Kaido may have a bit more when it comes to that because we're finding out more about him and he's on the fast track to becoming one of the best villains in One Piece if he's not already. No, he's not. Doflamingo still is the best villain in One Piece. Best antagonist for sure. But Luffy's potential, it sent Kaido into a tailspin. Now he's asking the question, what happened to him after he got destroyed in Kuri? So the character that Kaido fought in Kuri is a completely different character when it comes to abilities. When Luffy started using Future Sight, and I was, caught in the Future Sight bubble for a while, probably still am because of how much I love Katakuri. However, you realize Future Sight is not the end all be all, especially for a character like Luffy. Luffy isn't necessarily what I would call cerebral. He is a walking rubber ball of tenacity and perseverance. So Future Sight is not necessarily compatible with his abilities. Of course, when he slows down and he focuses, he can use the ability, but it just doesn't fit with his fighting style, his personality, mind you, because you have to be calm. Luffy can be calm in battle, but it's all systems go every single time. For my Hunter x Hunter fans, I liken it to Luffy being a conjurer learning manipulation techniques, or an enhancer trying to manipulate or conjure. It's difficult. It's possible, but harder and not as effective. Either way, Luffy went on to learn Haki specifically to damage Kaido, the forms of Ryo, the flow of Ryo, the thing that Hyogoro was able to teach him, and also what he learned from watching Rayleigh. That's another thing about Luffy. He picks up up on things so well. It's almost scary how quickly he can understand concepts. Yes, the fight versus Katakuri was 11, 12 hours, but he learned to see the future after seeing Katakuri do it. Now, this could be an inherent ability that he has or something that's passed down in his family, but it is scary. Self-fulfilling prophecy is something that I've talked about recently, where somewhat like manifestation, but you're putting your mind to doing something and then your actions follow because the outcome is something that you already expect to happen. So hey, I want to lose 50 pounds in 30 days. You're going to lose 50 pounds in 30 days, but then your actions start to match up with your end goal. You notice you're not eating out as much. You're eating smaller portions. Sometimes you're skipping things altogether because that end goal is manipulating your actions. For Luffy, his self-fulfilling prophecy is becoming the Pirate King and becoming strong enough to support his friends and protect his friends. And so therefore the actions, the learning, the way he picks up on abilities and concepts, it's astounding. There's no one like him, literally. I was someone that tried to compare him to other Supernova and said that, well, kid went into the new world before him. He should have some experience with handling some of these people, right? He should be awakened. He was, but he should be able to compete with, he cannot compete. Luffy is one of one. I think when Kaido looked at those characters, right? And he mentioned how high was Luffy's ceiling, and you saw Odin, you saw Roger, you saw Whitebeard, Rocks, and Shanks. No, this isn't specifically a power scaling list, but what do these people mean to Kaido? Well, for one, Odin was the person who scarred Kaido permanently, and someone who he felt like had a chance to defeat him. Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, a member of his crew at one point, the Rocks crew. Gold Roger, we don't need to say anymore, and then his former captain, Rocks. As much as I think this is about ability, I think this is also potential, which makes Shanks so damn scary. And I have to say, I will at some point give credit to people like Shanks, Zoro, Mihawk, Rayleigh, Sanji. You can let me know what you think they have in common, even Roger, but those guys are in a category by themselves because of what they were able to accomplish being what they are. Let me know in the comment section if you understand what I'm saying here. However, Luffy's being mentioned with these characters. Not confirmed, but Shanks has conquerors, Odin has conquerors, Whitebeard had conquerors, and Roger had conquerors. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Rocks had conquerors as well. Now we fast forward, and Luffy has unlocked Conqueror's Haki coding. We understand it a bit more now. We don't understand it fully because we don't understand exactly what it does. On its surface, it seems to be a multiplier, a way to enhance your abilities, enhance what you can already do. How much so, we don't know. What are the limitations? What are the risks? We really don't know yet. However, it is something that sets you apart from even the strongest, right? So only the strongest of the strongest can do this. I presume everyone here can coat their attacks in Conqueror's Haki. So let's rewind a bit. You have this kid who's always been physically a monster, right? When he was a kid, he was thrown into the jungle by his grandfather. When he was still a kid, 7 years old, he was interrogated by Blue Jam and refused to give up his brothers. We've documented his entire journey, the characters he's been through: Crocodile, Enel, Rob Lucci, Doflamingo, right? And he's learned something from all of these battles. And as much as I've seen complaints about Luffy's growth, and I don't think a valid complaint, I've said this before, is how long the story has been going on, because that is irrelevant. What makes more sense is the consistency and continuity within the story. You can't tell me you're this strong for 1,000 chapters, then 30 chapters you balloon to this unprecedented level. But that's not Luffy. One thing about Monkey D. Luffy is that speed and power has never been an issue for him. It's control. It's understanding these concepts and applying them in a more practical way that can enhance what you do and not be a detriment. Gear 4th is Luffy in a nutshell. Something quick that can bolster my abilities, but with a severe drawback that I'm not thinking about right away. What Conqueror's Haki coding does in Ryo, what it does for Luffy is that it gives him back the control. So all these matchups, all these fights that Luffy has had where he's using Gear 4th, using Haki so inefficiently, imagine with all that Haki that he's using, where Doflamingo couldn't even damage him. What if all that was concentrated into a single punch? I believe that is Red Rock. And I believe with the control that Luffy is learning, it's put him on another level, because again, it was never about power for him. Doflamingo said to him, well, you have the power, you don't have the speed, and you have the speed, you don't have the power. That was Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. Now in Gear 4th, the severe drawback, it was always something holding Luffy back. Versus Katakuri was the understanding of Katakuri's abilities, which again, Luffy in every battle, he takes a step forward, either in tenacity, endurance, understanding, speed, power, cognizance. But the reason why now his strength isn't a problem is because it was about understanding. I get it. Luffy's a kid and he's going up against people that are 50 years old and he's beating, well, a lot of these people, as explained in the story, they become complacent. They peak. Luffy's ceiling is not like these other characters. Luffy is special among the special. He's among the strongest of the strongest. So now when we evaluate the character, what do we see? The slow progression of him controlling his gears to what I think is the game changer in Conqueror's Haki coding. What if he gets a new gear? Now, awakening is something that I do see coming because I think Oda may give Kaido another form, because right now Luffy seems to have the upper hand. It's strange. It depends though. Do we want a slugfest like Luffy versus Zephyr, where it comes down to just punches at the end and endurance and tenacity? Or do we want another transformation where Kaido transforms, then Luffy transforms, then we have an explosive battle between the strongest creature and the person in One Piece with the highest ceiling that we've seen ever? Something that's scary though is post Wano, Luffy's abilities, right, with the Conqueror's Haki coding, let's say he does awaken, let's say he does get a new gear, him finding a difficult matchup will be difficult. Luffy seems to be over his stamina issues, or rather his gear 4th problem, because he doesn't have to rely on it as much. Luffy's next major battle, in my opinion, probably comes against an admiral, which I think will be more so a tie, where they can't defeat Luffy, but something happens so they let him go, but his actual next fight will be against Blackbeard. He will have a clash against Shanks, just a test to see where Luffy is, but his next fight is against Blackbeard. What's interesting here is that Luffy, we've talked about this, I've talked about this, that Luffy had to get stronger, much stronger in base form, because fighting Blackbeard is going to be an issue when you try to use your Devil Fruit. A little bit of an issue, but then you have to counter Blackbeard's quakes. If Luffy somewhat awakens and then he has this rubber ability, a way to either counter attacks or bounce attacks back, it is the perfect way to fight someone like Blackbeard, because hey, I have this Conqueror's Haki coding and I also have a way to counter the Quake Fruit. He is the perfect matchup. So where are we now? How strong is Luffy at this point? And then once Wano ends and he goes on to clash with Shanks and fight Blackbeard, well, Luffy's approaching the point where he is probably above every single right hand. I think a couple right hands could give him a run for his money, but ultimately he will come out the winner. It depends on how you look at Ben Beckman and even Sabo and even Shiryu, who a lot of people really don't respect because, just gonna be honest, Oda hasn't necessarily given us a reason to respect him. However, based on story and plot purposes, you understand what he means to Zoro and also to Blackbeard. But in my opinion, with everything Luffy has now and predicting the things he could unlock before the end of Wano, awakening and possibly a new gear, Luffy's firmly entrenched as one of the 10 to 12 strongest characters currently in the story. That's how I view Luffy. Now, when the top 30 drops, the top 30 strongest One Piece characters, it's not going to be based off of future things, just based off of where we think he is currently. Right now, I think he does get an awakening, he does get a new gear, top 10 to 12, where yes, some admirals could get defeated. In my conversation with King of Lightning, if you guys haven't watched it, I'll link it below. Pretty interesting conversation. Always love talking to Cole. He mentions that Luffy's approaching Mihawk. Thought about it for a while and I'm thinking, is Luffy currently as strong as Zoro's goal? Maybe, possibly, but I think he's in the ballpark. I don't think there's anyone in the story anymore that can punk Luffy, that can push him around, that can say, I don't have to try my hardest to defeat you. That time is over. He's a completely different monster now. The Shanks reunion, it will be a clashing of kings. The skies will part. There will be an overwhelming force between the both of them because, again, I think Shanks' ceiling is astronomical as well. Whatever he showed to Kaido made Kaido feel that Shanks is someone to be feared. I think Kaido's top 5 isn't necessarily just about strength. I think it's also about respect. What you stand for. My headcanon, again, about back then, the Rocks Pirates. I think Big Mom did something for him to say, I don't respect her. She saved my life, but I still don't respect her. I don't like her. I think what happened was Whitebeard stood on his morals and Kaido respected that. Also how he went out. Also acknowledging that Whitebeard is just being strong. Gold Roger, how he stepped to Rocks and took him down. But also Odin, we understand what's going on there, and Rocks, what he stood for, how he was trying to impact the world. Shanks is a part of them. What does Shanks have in regards to ambition and strength to make Kaido feel like he belongs among those legends? I think when you talk about legendary characters, the only other characters I put up there would be Garp and Ryuma when you think of legendary characters. But guys, ultimately, Luffy's ceiling is beyond anyone. Will he be the strongest character in One Piece? He doesn't need to be, but he will be. No question in my mind. Luffy is scary strong, and I still think he has a lot more growing to do. Isn't that insane? But guys, give me your thoughts. Those are my honest thoughts on Luffy. I think Blackbeard is in trouble. I think anyone who stands in his way is in trouble. What they saw in Marineford is now coming to pass. Everything they feared has manifested in the ball of this kid made of rubber who has a crew of absolute monsters. CP0, I understand that you're there to capture Nico Robin. However, it is time to call in backup, because if Luffy does manage to defeat Kaido and leave Wano, you will regret that dearly. And if that wasn't clear before, once we get Luffy versus Kaido and you see Luffy come out on top with the crew that he's already assembled and possibly adding Yamato, yeah, put the APB out now. But guys, give me your thoughts. What do you think about Luffy? Where is he currently for you? Top 10, top 12, top 15? Where is he in comparison to Rayleigh? Has Luffy finally surpassed Rayleigh? Give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys all so much. Again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost.